It's me, the pterodactyl. As you can see, I am a nerd. And I am a nerd about the Bat family. This group of lovable misfits who are just so smart, and yet every single one of them is stupid in their own way, and I love them for it. So, yeah. I have recently, gotten more of my friends to pay attention to the Bat family, so this is a video for them, where I am going to briefly explain each member of the Bat family. And by briefly, I mean badly, because I will ramble, I will only talk about the things that I care about, and I will impose my own headcanons, but I'll tell you every time that I do that. So before I start, I am going to do a quick rundown of who every single person on this board is. Because I'm only doing the main Bat family. These are who I consider the main Bat family, and even then, I don't actually care about Batwoman that much. She's on this board because I have an interesting factoid about her. This row is the adults. You have the grandfather figure, Alfred Pennyworth. He is also the butler and the father figure to Bruce Wayne, Batman, the father figure to everyone else below him. And then you have Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. She is Bruce's love interest and is therefore the pseudo-mother figure, but she's also a terrible influence, and we love it. Lastly, for the adults, you have Kate Kane, who is Batwoman. She is kind of like an aunt figure for them, and she's Bruce's cousin. Next, we have the three eldest siblings. Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, was the first Robin. Barbara Gordon, the first Batgirl. She also goes by the alias Oracle. And lastly, we have the problem child, Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood. He is also the second Robin. Yeah, this is why it gets complicated fast. Moving down to the middle child row, we have Tim Drake, aka Red Robin, the third Robin. Then we have Cassandra Cain, formerly Batgirl, then Black Bat, and then Orphan, and now she's back to being Batgirl. Lastly, for the middle children, we have Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler. She is also Batgirl. And then on our bottom row, we have the two youngest / newest, because I think Duke is about the same age as these ones, but he's too new. So, with the actual youngest, we have Damian Wayne, the current Robin, and then Duke Thomas, aka the Signal, and he is the newest addition to the family. So yeah, with that over, I can now get into the individual characters. Brief warning, I am not caught up with the comics. I got very angry at the Batcat wedding thing, because I still don't recall whether or not they did get married or not, and that was in 2016. Oh my gosh, that was 8 years ago. I need to have a sit down. I can't process this. For reference, I made this shirt as a costume 8 years ago. I was a teenager 8 years ago. What? Question. Do I even have to explain who this is? Like, do I actually have to explain Batman to you? For the sake of completion, I will explain him to you. But if you don't have a vague idea of who Bruce Wayne is, or who Batman is, I'm judging you. Know that you are being judged by me, okay? That established, Bruce Wayne is the son of Thomas and Martha Wayne, two billionaires in Gotham City. Gotham is host to a lot of crime. Like a lot. He also has his butler, Alfred Pennyworth. But one day, Bruce and his parents go to see a show. This changes depending on the version that you're reading. It's either a play or a movie. Depends. But they see the show, and either at the end or like halfway through, they leave. When it's halfway through, it's because Bruce got scared. But they leave, and they go to where Alfred is waiting for them with the car. And they make the dumbest possible choice. They decide to walk through a dark alleyway. On Crime Alley. I don't want to, like, victim blame them here, but, like, come on, guys. Come on. It is a street that is literally called Crime Alley. And you went down an alleyway down that street? You were asking to be robbed. I'm just saying. So, the Waynes get mugged at gunpoint. And the mugger ends up shooting Thomas and Martha, leaving Bruce alone to cry over his parents' corpses. All alone. This sparks the idea of Batman in Bruce's mind. A symbol for Gotham. And someone to eliminate crime. So that way no child or person will ever have to go through what he has experienced that day ever again. So Bruce goes on a training montage that takes multiple years, and he travels all across the world. Fun fact, Santa Claus is canon, and Bruce trained with Santa Claus and had adventures with him. And I don't know how to break that to you aside from just letting you know that here. It's never going to be important again. I just thought I'd mention it because it's funny, and it's the end of November now when I'm filming this. Christmas is almost here, so yeah. Christmas video, this counts. Bruce will return to Gotham City and take on the mantle of Batman. The first ever Batman. I say that because some of the Robins will replace him as Batman when Bruce goes missing, or dies, or fake dies. These are comic books. There's so much history, and things are always changing and getting undone. So yeah. So you might be wondering, why Bat? Why Batman? Well, you see, as a child, Bruce was afraid of bats. So now, he's taking what he was afraid of, and he's going to turn it on the criminals. He wants the criminals to be as scared of him as he was of bats as a child. And Bruce is successful for like about the first 2 years, and then he gets his very first child, Dick Grayson, and this starts Batman and Robin, the dynamic duo. And that goes on for years, and Batgirl joins as well. Over the years, Bruce will go through, I think we're on Robin number 5. Yeah, Robin number 5. Bruce will have 5 Robins and 3 Batgirls and extended members of the family as well. It's kind of all I have to go over with Bruce. Batman's been in so many stories that, like, trying to even explain them in a timeline is just too much for this video, so I'm not going to. Now, let me tell you about the superhero teams that Bruce has been a part of. The Justice League. That's the big one, yeah. He also forms the Outsiders as a subgroup. They split off from the Justice League, and I'll go more into them later, because some of the family members are in the Outlaws. But as for the Justice League, the lineup changes a lot, but you can count on the founding members being Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. The big 3. The 3 biggest heroes in DC Comics. So, like, Bruce is a normal human. Normal human person. He has trained extensively to be as good as he is, but he's still just a human person at the end of the day. Superman is an alien from another planet who is essentially godlike with his powers. Wonder Woman is a demigod or a god, depending on where you are, who fights crime. And yet Bruce stands side by side with them, and each of those two knows that Bruce has a plan for if they ever turn rogue, he has a plan to take them down. Despite being a normal human person, Bruce is terrifying as Batman. I can't, like, that's how crazy he is at his job. He's so crazy good. And yet he is still often challenged. In terms of romantic interests, there are just two that I'd like to note. There are more, and you can go more into fandom territory and infinity pairings for everyone. But his main two in comic book romances are Selina Kyle, Catwoman, and Talia al Ghul, of the League of Assassins. I ship him with Selina. Bruce does have a child with Talia, though, so. Now for Bruce's personality. And he has a very special case where I have to talk about his two distinct personalities. Because you have his true personality, which is Batman, and then you have the fake personality that he puts on for the people of Gotham, Brucey Wayne. That's what we call him when he's acting all stupid. We love it. It's great. We love to see Brucey Wayne doing stupid Brucey Wayne things. So how do we know that the Batman is the true identity? Well, one time, Wonder Woman used the lasso of truth. Superman and Batman held onto it, and they said their secret identities. Superman said Clark Kent. This one said Batman. Iconic, but also kind of sad. Now, as for how you characterize Batman, so comic books have varied histories, and it's been a long history for Bruce. But I would say, aside from the whole I am vengeance, I am the night thing, the whole I'm gonna clean up Gotham City from crime thing, you know you are on the right track when characterizing Bruce, when characterizing Batman. If you could see this version of Batman that you're writing or thinking about, if he came across a child in distress, would he help and comfort that child? Emphasis on comfort them, make them feel not alone. Because if you'll remember, that's why Bruce started his whole crusade. He did not want any kids to feel as lost and alone as he did in that moment in the alleyway when his parents died. He's always going to comfort a child who's crying. He's going to save them from a crisis and tell them it's okay. If you're not doing that, if you are not showing that side, that compassion and that want to protect the people of Gotham, you're doing it wrong. Like, for as badly characterized as Batman v Superman the movie was for Bruce, like, he still comforted a child in that movie after a disaster happened, so, like, even the worst ones get the basics right. Now for Brucey Wayne. Brucey Wayne is a carefully crafted facade of Bruce's. His goal? To make himself look so incompetent that no one would even suspect him of being Batman. And he's so good at it. He's so good at playing up this billionaire playboy philanthropist angle that it's the only reason nobody knows his secret identity. I swear that's the only reason why nobody has figured it out. Well, Jim Gordon maybe figured it out, but I would like to push the agenda of Brucey Wayne moving more towards that, oh no, I'm a tired parent of 7, angle, you know? Like, that's funny. That's really funny. And it would also work for why he disappears all the time and why he has random information. So, yeah. That's Bruce. Now we can move on to the first of my Robins. Richard Dick Grayson is the first Robin and one of the first sidekicks ever. So Dick grew up in the circus with his family, the group of acrobats known as the Flying Graysons. And here's an interesting thing. Most of the time, the Flying Graysons consist of the father, the mother, and then the son, Dick Grayson. There are very rare occasions, and I believe this has only ever happened twice, where the Flying Graysons are a group of 6 acrobats. So you've got the 3 that I just mentioned, and then you have the aunt, the uncle, and the cousin. Which is... I find that so funny and so unnecessary. Because, here's the thing. The Flying Graysons die. All of them except for Dick Grayson die. The Flying Graysons travel in Haley's Traveling Circus, I believe is how you say it. Haley's? I think they say it as Haley, so I'm sticking with that. Haley's Traveling Circus. And the circus arrives in Gotham, right? And they're setting things up when a local, mob boss named Tony Zucco, or is it Zuko? My instinct is to say Zuko because of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I think it's Zucco. Oh well, we'll just see whatever I say most often. So, Tony Zucco shows up and talks to the ringmaster, Haley. And he's like, welcome to Gotham. See, Gotham's a very dangerous place, you know? So, Gotham's a very, dangerous place, you know? But me and my people, we'd be willing to lend you a hand, you know? You give us a little bit of money and we aid you, we protect you, you know? To which Haley's like, no? Dude, we're just gonna be here for a few days, and then we're gone. I don't need to pay you for protection. Tony Zuko's like, oh, what a shame. Hope nothing bad happens for you. And I imagine Haley's like, I have insurance on this whole operation. What are you talking about? Obviously, Tony Zuko did not take this well. And so, he went back and ordered some of his thugs to go sabotage the biggest act at Haley Circus, the Flying Graysons. That night, a night where Bruce Wayne just happens to be in attendance because Alfred finally convinced him to take a night off from being Batman and to enjoy himself for once. Bruce is in the crowd when the Flying Graysons do their act, and partway through, the trapeze fully breaks due to the sabotage. And all the Flying Graysons, save for Dick Grayson, plummet to their deaths. Why didn't he plummet? He was on, like, the beam. So, like, I don't know what it's actually called. It's like, you've got the 2 beams at the side, and then you've got the trapeze going between the 2. He was on that. He was waiting in the wings, essentially. And so he watched his entire family die. Which in most cases is just his mom and dad. But in the funnier case of just throwing extra tragedy at our boy, you have his aunt and cousin also die, and then his uncle is in a coma forever. I don't know why they did this. My favorite incarnation of Dick Grayson has this backstory, the Young Justice one, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Anyway, Bruce, being the tragic, traumatized orphan that he is, instantly picks up on the newly traumatized, newly orphaned Dick Grayson crying over his parents' bodies, and he goes and he comforts him. Bruce will then offer to foster Dick Grayson, making him his ward is usually what they call it. And then they're never really clear about this, but I'm like 99% sure that Bruce just adopts him. Dick Grayson is then essentially adopted by Bruce Wayne, and it does not take him long to find the Batcave and learn that Bruce is Batman. To which he instantly starts planning in his head what his superhero identity is going to be, because obviously he's going to help him. And he comes up with the idea of Robin, the Boy Wonder. Bruce is like, I see nothing wrong with this, you know? The way I dealt with my trauma was to train and to beat up criminals. This will work perfectly for this 8-year-old child, because did I mention this whole time he's 8 years old? Bruce, no, Bruce. Also, I think Bruce is like 20. At this point, Bruce isn't that old. I could be the same age as Bruce when he adopts Dick Grayson as a child. So, like, are you sure about this, Bruce? From there, Dick Grayson will be Robin for many years. Many years in our real lifetime. Many years in comic book time. Bruce will go on to found the Justice League, and he's looking around at some of the other heroes and goes, you guys have some sidekicks around my son's age. My son has no friends that I know of. That was me. I don't know if he had any friends. This is just my funny way of putting this. How about I arrange a play date for my son with y'all's sidekicks? To which Aquaman and Flash agree. So Dick Grayson gets to have a play date with Kid Flash, aka Wally West, and Aqualad, aka Garth. And the three connect, and they bond, and they're friends, and then they'll later be joined by Wonder Girl, aka Donna Troy. And the four of them will form their own little hero group, called the Teen Titans. Those of you who only know the Teen Titans by the show are like, wait, what? What? I mean, we know Robin, but what about why are these are the three? And the answer is comic books. These are the original members of the Teen Titans. There will be more joining their ranks, and I will go over that when I go over his team section. But what you need to know from this is that the Teen Titans gives Dick a chance to be more independent. And he's growing up, right? He's like a teenager. So obviously he's going to have some teenage angst. And he's going to rebel a little bit. And eventually he'll move out of the Batcave and into Titan's Tower, which is where the Teen Titans have set up base, which is a giant T-shaped tower. What are you doing? I think the second most rebellious thing that Dick ever did was move into the Titan's Tower. And not because he was like moving away, because it was a giant T-shaped tower that was their base. And that is just a blatant insult to the art of subtlety that Bruce has created. The first most rebellious act, the disco wingsuit. As seen here, the print did not do a good job, so I'll put it on screen. And here. We all love to mock the disco wingsuit. It is ridiculous. And he thought it was good. After a while of being with the Teen Titans, Dick will eventually take up a new hero name, that being Nightwing. As Nightwing, he'll stay with the Teen Titans until they disband for a little bit. Comic book stuff. Lots of storylines with Dick Grayson, okay? It's so much history. Eventually, Dick will move to his own city, that being a neighboring city to Gotham called Bloodhaven, which is like currently worse off than Gotham because they have all of the same crime problems as Gotham does, but they don't have a Batman. So they're struggling. So Dick goes to Bloodhaven, and there he will be their hero. Later, after a lot of stuff, Bruce will retire temporarily once and then go missing for a while, and Dick will have to fill in the shoes as Batman. He will take up the cowl and be Batman with Tim as his Robin, and then later Damian as his Robin. And then the timeline halfway resets, and for complicated reasons, Bruce has Dick go undercover in a spy agency called Spiral, where essentially nobody knows who Dick Grayson is, and nobody knows who this spy is. Like, they have like a face warping technology too, and this is his role as Agent 37. He's a spy there, and the reason why he has a spy comic arc, this was a question once asked to the writers of this arc, and they said, well, Dick Grayson is already seen as like a very sexy character, and spies are sexy, so why not combine the two? I hate that I just said that, okay? I don't like those words coming from my own mouth, okay? Uncomfy. But that is why he had a spy arc. I forgot to print out a picture of him in his spy arc, because I didn't care for it. But I bring it up because, one, it's kind of important, and two, there is a very funny thing that happens when he is Agent 37. Nobody can see his face. Nobody can recognize him. Except, on a few occasions, some very close people to Dick Grayson have recognized him when he was Agent 37. How did they do this? His butt. I'm not even joking. So because of aforementioned Dick Grayson is hot, and because of the tendency of, these are like skin-tight suits, comic book artists have well-defined his butt in certain panels. And so it is such a joke for the fandom that this Nightwing plush that my friend gave me for my birthday, they went out of their way to define his butt on this. That is how much of a meme and a joke it is for the fandom. And it canonically makes him recognizable. I personally don't understand this logic, but we move on. As for Dick Grayson's teams, it's just the Titans and the Teen Titans that I'm going to go over. The Titans being the Teen Titans after they grow up and are no longer teenagers. So, the original members I already went over. They are joined by one other, that being Speedy, aka Roy Harper, who is Green Arrow's sidekick. And now, I'm going to speed run every member who I believe has worked with Dick Grayson as Robin or Nightwing. This was a very tricky thing to do, because one, Google is terrible now and I can't look up anything properly, and two, lists of the teams will just tell you in chunks based on what era they were in and not necessarily who they were teamed up with. So I had to inference a lot. And there are also two different groups of Teen Titans, and I'm not even talking about like incarnations. There are the Teen Titans and the Teen Titans West. For my own sanity, I'm going to say that the Teen Titans West count as having worked with Dick Grayson in the Teen Titans. Are you ready? Speedrun time. Aquagirl, Bumblebee, Beast Boy, Cyborg, Hawk and Dove, Flamebird, Gnark, Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner's version, Guardian, Harlequin, not Harley Quinn, Harlequin, Jericho, Jesse Quick, Miss Martian, Omen, Raven, Starfire, Steel, and Terra. There are so many heroes out there. Yeah, those are the Teen Titans that I believe have worked with Dick Grayson. Next up, we have his main romantic relationships, that being Barbara Gordon and Starfire. I don't know if you can tell, but clearly I ship him with Barbara. I mean, like, I don't care about Starfire, I guess. Personality. Dick Grayson is charming and positive, and that is to hide the swirling mix of anger and doubt that is buried deep inside of him. Young Dick Grayson saw Bruce's strategy of masking your pain technique and then took it in the opposite direction, whereas Bruce goes stoic to mask his turmoil and pain. Dick Grayson goes sassy and puns and extrovert. He goes extra about it, you know? As Robin, Dick Grayson was always cheerful, and you can kind of attribute this to, you know, the older comics being very silly, but even as time goes forward and people revisit his time as Robin, he still remains that silliness and that playful charm. But even as Robin, he had some deep-seated anger that he didn't show anyone. Like, he actively chose not to show it. Best example, at like somewhere between the ages of 8, after his parents died and he became Robin, and 10, after finding out that Tony Zuko hired the hit, essentially, on his parents, Dick Grayson went out, tracked him down, and tried to murder him. And Bruce had to stop him from murdering a man. So, like, the anger is there. He just doesn't want you to know that. And he is very successful at not showing anyone that anger and that doubt. And that is because he has way too much responsibility to let out those feelings. Or at least that's what he thinks. So, like, Dick has always been meant to be the next Batman. He's known that since he was Robin. He's known that for a long time, that should anything happen to Bruce, he's gonna take over as Batman. And that is so much responsibility for a person. Like, that is the weight of the world on your shoulders kind of responsibility, with the expectation of standing amongst godly figures. He's expected to one day fill Bruce's shoes. Like, that seems impossible. But he always is striving for that. He knows that that is his future. And even when he starts moving away from Bruce and towards the Teen Titans kind of arc area, when he no longer wants to be Batman, no longer wants to be the next Batman, even then he's taking on these characteristics of Bruce, being the leader of the Teen Titans, a role that Bruce fills for the Justice League. He's taking that on himself with the Teen Titans. So even when he's trying to escape it, he can't outrun the shadow of Batman. It's a predetermined role for him, and he will fill it, and he'll fill it in his own way when he is Batman, being himself still being lighthearted about it. And it helps that his Robin is the most psychopathic Robin to ever Robin. Overall, Dick Grayson is the golden child, and it is a role that he never wanted, but one that he will not let crush him. He will live up to that. And he will do it smiling. So that's his personality, in my opinion. It can always change, depending on who's writing him. I just remembered a terrible arc. Not even going to speak the name. Dick's role in the family is the big brother / secondary parental figure. Actually, scratch that. Third parental figure. It goes Alfred, Bruce, and then Dick in terms of parental figures. And honestly, Dick has been more of a parent to some of these people than Bruce has, let's be honest. Looks at Damien. Dick will always be there for his siblings, kind of a thing, though he wasn't initially when Jason was around, with him and Jason kind of not getting along too well, seeing as Jason was his replacement, and that is always awkward when somebody else takes your role. It's a little bit awkward, and throw in the fact that he's never had a brother before. Jason has never had a brother before. Bruce doesn't know what siblings are. It's kind of a mess all around. But he does try with Jason still. And following Jason's death, much like Bruce was devastated by that death, Dick was also devastated by it. And I think from then on, he changed his perspective. For any future members of the Bat family going forward, he would be there. Because he wasn't there for Jason, and Jason died. So he is going to be there for his younger siblings no matter what. This is best exemplified with one time after doing his day job of being a cop in Bloodhaven, doing the Nightwing job at night, Dick Grayson finally gets to his apartment and he crashes, only for his phone to ring. And it's Tim. So he picks it up because Tim is a mess and is going through a lot. And even though Dick is so tired, he answers that phone because Tim is his little brother, and he is not going to be the reason why Tim feels alone. He will be that shoulder to lean on, that ear to listen to. I think that's a saying? I don't know. He will be there for his siblings, no matter what. He did not have a high opinion of Cass. Just saying. They fought physically fought each other. But that was because Cass is an assassin, and he was very suspicious of her. Eventually, they smoothed things out, and they're chill now. With Damian, though, Dick was the parental figure for Damian because Bruce was missing at the time, and so Dick had to take on that role as Batman with Damian as his Robin. And Damian is a bundle of issues and anger, and he has a sword and kills people. So Dick has to try to rein all of that in, and he does successfully. He gets Damian to understand why they don't kill. Well, not understand, accept that they don't kill, and gets Damian to chill out, to mellow out a little bit. And overall, he was, for a while there, the only, emotionally supportive parental figure Damian has ever had, seeing as Talia was not emotionally supportive, I guess. She was just there to train Damian. Making Dick a very important part of Damian's life and story. Yeah, that is Dick Grayson, the first Robin, and Nightwing. He is great. I love him. He's iconic. I can't believe I had this sitting in front of me this whole time. You were supposed to be up here. It's to be down here by Wendigoon. Okay, moving on. There are 3 members of the Bat family that I usually expect people to know off the bat. Pun. And those 3 are Bruce, Dick Grayson, aka Robin, just in a general sense, and Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. They are the 3 originals. They have been here the longest, since the 1960s TV show. That is how long they have been around. I would be impressed if you didn't have an idea of who any of those 3 were. Even if it's just by their hero names. I expect people to know Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. And most of the time they will associate Robin with Dick Grayson's Robin and Batgirl with Barbara Gordon's Batgirl. That's what I expect people to know coming into the Bat family. Barbara Gordon is the daughter of Commissioner Jim Gordon, trusted ally of Batman. And so she already had a strong sense of justice and an incredible brain going into this. Fun fact, Barbara Gordon has, what is it called? Photographic memory, making her insanely smart. Anyway, but seeing Batman and Robin do their thing, Barbara goes, I can do that. And so she puts together her own costume and her own hero identity, that being Batgirl. and she strikes out on her own. And while she will work together with Batman and Robin, she also does a lot of things on her own and is a capable investigator on her own. And she does all of this hero work behind her father's back. So extra impressive. Hiding it from your father. In real life, Barbara Gordon has existed for about 57 years in comic history. And 21 of those years, 21 years straight, she was Batgirl, meaning that she has such a long history that, much like Bruce and Dick, I'm not going to go over a lot of it. The older they are, the less stories I actually talk about. Because comic book history is incredibly complicated and is constantly resetting, so we're just not going to go over it. Barbara is usually a librarian by day and Batgirl by night. She operates on her own, but alongside Bruce and Robin. But alongside Batman and Robin. Slowly, as more super-powered superheroes show up, Barbara kind of feels outdated. So she decides to hang up her cowl as Batgirl and retire. It is during this retirement when Joker gets a thought in his head, and that is always a bad sign because the last thought in his head was to kill Robin. So yeah, we'll get there with Jason. This is when the events of the Killing Joke happen. Long story short, the Joker has in his head that all it takes is one extremely bad day for a normal person to turn just as crazy as he is. And to prove this, he picks one of the most moral people in Gotham, Commissioner Jim Gordon. And he sets to make up the worst possible day. And along with a whole lot of other things, the Joker shoots Barbara through the spine to get at Jim Gordon. This shot will leave Barbara paralyzed from the waist down. Something that for a little bit she is depressed by. Because yeah, she always had the idea that maybe one day she'll return to Batgirl. But now she can't. She physically isn't able to. But after a brief depression, Barbara pulls herself back up. She goes, I may not be able to help fight crime in the way that I used to as Batgirl, but I still have my brain. I can still help, and I will help. So she turns her apartment into the clock tower, which has a whole bunch of computers and technology, and from there she will operate as Oracle, the brains behind the entire operation of Batman and other heroes. As Oracle, she will start her own superhero team called the Birds of Prey. And she is so successful at it. She's thriving. Even though she's paralyzed from the waist down, she takes up defensive lessons to learn how to fight in her wheelchair. If anything should happen, she'll still be able to fight and hold her own. Barbara is epic. Barbara cannot be stopped. Oh, and just a side note, Joker's philosophy of all it takes is one bad day, no, it doesn't. It's a choice that he made. He chose to be like that, okay? Like, yeah, he may be clinically insane, but he's choosing not to be helped and to just continue to be worse and to cause other people harm. So no, do not agree with Joker's philosophy. Later on, when Cassandra Cain joins the family, Barbara will allow Cass to stay in her home, the clock tower. She'll also train Cass a little bit, not that Cass needs a lot of training, but she will also teach Cass how to read. In the long run, Barbara will become the mentor figure for both Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown, the two people who she allowed to take up the Batgirl mantle. And then the timeline resets, and Barbara becomes Batgirl again. But then later on, she would retire without having to be in her wheelchair, and she would return to the position of Oracle, but she has the rights reserved to return to the cowl at any time. That's Barbara's brief history. Going over her superhero team, it is the Birds of Prey, an all-female superhero group. The most important members and the original members being Black Canary and Huntress. A lot of people come in and out over the years. She is also vaguely friends with Supergirl, depending on the canonicity, depending on where you are in the timeline. She is friends with Supergirl. Relationship. Nightwing. Fight me on this. Only one that matters. In terms of personality, Barbara is insanely smart. She is a genius. She is very confident as well. Like, not cocky, but she's confident. She knows her skills and abilities. And she's not afraid of, like, being like, yeah, I'm great. Barbara's just overall awesome. She knows how good she is, but she won't brag fully. And then, even at her lowest moments, she manages to pick herself up and go, I'm still gonna help. And she finds a way to be just as effective in the fight against crime, even at her lowest, even when she is physically incapable of doing the things that other heroes do. She is just as useful. Barbara is incredibly determined. I don't know if you can tell that by pulling herself out of her own depression and becoming awesome. Awesomer than she already was. Of the entire Bat family, I would say she is the most confident and the most straightforward with people. You aren't getting anything past her, let's be honest. In terms of the family role, she is not a part of the Wayne family, but she could be. Marriage. She is a core member of the Bat family, though. She is the big sister to everyone, and the only other person aside from Alfred who can get away with calling Bruce out when he's done something wrong, and that is impressive, because not everyone can do that without being very angry and having been provoked into yelling it at him. She's also one of the only other people Bruce will listen to when she scolds him, so for Cass and Steph, she is their mentor and their direct big sister figure. And she continues, even to this day, to mentor the two of them. The whole family is in debt to Babs, and she gets the best sister award out of anyone. Also, she should definitely marry Dick Grayson and become officially a part of the Wayne family. I am just saying. They're a very cute couple. Jason Todd, the prodigal son, and an absolute disaster. We love him for it. So, Jason is the son of a petty criminal, and his mother is unfortunately a drug addict. After Jason's father gets put away in prison and then ditches them once he gets out, Jason, as a young child, is left to try to provide for himself and his mother, because she is unable to. And he does a little bit, finding that stealing car tires and selling them, pretty good way of getting money. That is until his mother dies of an overdose, leaving Jason alone on the streets of Gotham. So he continues doing what he was doing of stealing tires and selling them to get money for food. This is what leads him to the opportunity of a lifetime. The Batmobile. Sitting alone. No Batman in sight. And he can't just not. That thing has some super expensive tires. He is going to steal them. So Jason starts stealing the tires off of the Batmobile. Successfully, might I add. He has gotten one of the tires off of the Batmobile by the time that Batman shows up. And when Bruce shows up, he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" To which Jason tries to fight him. He has tenacity, I guess. There's something. Bruce laughs at this because it's just so unexpected and really, really funny. So Bruce is like, "Okay, kid, you want to get some food? And so he takes Jason to get food, and he's like, I'm lacking a Robin right now. This kid needs a house. Hey, how would you like to have a home to stay in and fight people still and become Robin? Jason has to consider for a second and then goes, yeah, sounds good. Anything beats the streets. So he moves into Wayne Manor and probably has a little bit of a shock at, going from street youth to I live in a manor with a billionaire. I think he had some shock. But Jason gets to be Robin, the Boy Wonder. And as Robin, Jason is kind of thriving. Like, not gonna lie, he loves it. He loves being Robin so much. In his own words, being Robin gives me magic. That is how he feels as Robin the Boy Wonder. Of course, it isn't all happy-go-lucky. Jason is very angry. He has some anger issues. And Bruce sees this and he tries to, calm it down a little bit. But it's just not working quite right. And as Jason gets older, those anger issues just build up more and more. And there's one point where he almost kills a person with a gun, which is notable because Bruce says no guns. My parents were murdered with a gun, no guns. And also no killing, but also no guns. But notably, Jason actually stops himself from killing this guy. He tried to fly. Notably, Jason stops himself from killing this guy, being like, no, this is not how we do it. As much as I want to, I'm not going to. And Bruce is very proud of him for that. If you'll remember, Bruce actually had to stop Dick from killing someone, whereas Jason stopped himself this one time. So Jason's getting older, and the anger's only building, and Bruce even has Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, watch Jason for a little bit just to get her read on things, and she's like, yeah, no, this is a problem, Bruce. Get him some therapy. And Bruce is like, this is therapy. I don't know what else therapy is. My interpretation. All of this comes to a head when Jason learns that his mother is not his mother. His biological mother is still alive somewhere out there, and so he sets off on his own to find her. And he does. She is a field medic, I guess, is the word to put it. But she is currently being blackmailed by the Joker to be the medic for Joker and his crime posse. Not good. Also not good, this is a trap. Joker then kidnaps Jason, and the results of this kidnapping were left to the public to decide. That's right, at the time, the writers of DC Comics put out, do you want Jason Todd to live or die? At this time, Jason was not liked. People did not like him or his Robin incarnation, so they chose to kill him. There was a little bit of tomfoolery that we know of, where somebody made a ye olden bot essentially to call in to get more votes for the killing Jason side. It's weird. I've only heard rumor of it, so don't quote me on that. But if it is true, it's kind of funny that somebody had such a hatred for Jason that they built a spam caller. That's the word, a spam caller. Just so that way they would ensure that he died. And he did. This is a turning point in the lives of every one of the Bat family members. Even the people who aren't in the family yet, they will be affected by Jason's death. That's just how strong of an impact this is. So, yeah, Jason was kidnapped by the Joker, and, he was beaten nearly to death with a crowbar before Joker left Jason and his mother in a warehouse with a bomb set to explode. And even in Jason's last moments, he knew that Bruce would get there. He wanted Bruce to get there on time, but he wasn't sure. But he was sure that if Bruce didn't get there on time, Bruce would avenge him. Bruce would not let Joker continue like this, because Joker crossed a line. And Jason's last act of heroism before the bomb goes off is to try and protect his mother from the blast. Bruce does get there, just slightly too late. And he finds Jason's corpse in the rubble. And suddenly, the kids can die. Suddenly, the sidekicks can die terrible and gruesome deaths at the hands of the villains, making this a turning point in universe for, like, every hero thinking about a sidekick or who has a sidekick. This is impactful. Like, I can't even emphasize how much of an impact this has, especially for Bruce, because after this, Bruce will begin to spiral into darkness, and he won't be pulled out, and he's not going to get himself out of it until somebody else comes along to pull him out of it. Death is not something new to comic books, right? It is a joke that death means nothing in a comic book. Anyone can come back from the dead. In a superhero comic book, anyone can come back at any time for any reason. That is how this works. The main exception for a really long time was Jason Todd. Jason stayed dead for 17 real-life years, and that doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things and in the grand timeline of comic books existing, but for reference, Jason was Robin for 5 real-life years. And in canon, in universe, Jason was at most 16 years old when he died. The ages change and it's hard to tell. Jason, when he died, was somewhere in between the ages of 12 and 16, with, I believe, the most commonly accepted idea is that he died at age 16. So Jason's death lasted longer than his run as Robin in real life and his in-universe age. 17 years. Older than Jason was when he died. And nobody expected Jason to come back. People didn't like him. The audience didn't like him that much. But he did come back. And sweet glory, did he come back swinging. In universe, Jason was dead for 6 months. And the way he came back, because these are comic books, was more complicated than the way that everybody thinks. The original way that he came back was during the events of Infinite Crisis. Superboy Prime, a Superboy from a different universe, punched through into this universe, which I like to call our universe. And he tried and successfully killed our universe's Superboy and other heroes. But the thing to note is that when he punched through into our universe, weird things happened. One of those weird things is that Jason Todd came back to life. In his coffin. 6 feet under the ground. So Jason has to claw his way out of his own grave. And then he gets out of the cemetery and collapses on the side of the road. Trauma times 2! This bad boy can fit so much trauma in him. Trust me, they've done it. So Jason is then found by somebody driving on the road. They take him to a hospital where he will remain in a coma until a random criminal finds him, recognizes him, tells Talia al Ghul about Jason. She then kidnaps him from the hospital, takes him to the Lazarus Pit, which can resurrect people, throws him in, and he comes back to life and is driven temporarily insane and loses a lot of his memories. The Lazarus Pit has some weird side effects. Jason will then go on a training arc to, 1, train, and 2, regain his memories. And the training route that he takes is the exact same one that Bruce took. I think minus Santa Claus. I don't think Jason trained with Santa Claus. I don't get that vibe. Jason then returns to Gotham, only to find 2 very disturbing things. 1, he's been replaced. Tim Drake is now Robin. And 2, Joker's still alive, and Joker is still being a criminal. This is unacceptable. Because, Bruce, you didn't get there on time to save me. You could have at very least taken out the jerk who did it, and make sure that nobody else ever has to deal with him again. Jason is livid. And so, he takes on the identity of the Red Hood, doing what Bruce did. See, the Red Hood is a part of one of Joker's backstories. It's always changing, but for this purpose, Joker's backstory is that he was a part of a gang called the Red Hoods, with their leader being the one in the Red Hood mask. At the time, Joker was the one in that mask. And when Batman came to confront them, it was in a chemical factory, and he accidentally pushed Red Hood into the chemicals. He fell over the railings and into a vat of chemicals, and this would turn him into the Joker that we know and hate. So Jason, who has died because of the Joker, is taking the thing that he fears and that killed him, and he's making it his own. He became the Red Hood, embracing what he fears, just like Bruce did with bats. Jason will return to Gotham, start his own crime gang, ? And then he'll go after Bruce, taunting him and leaving little hints about who he is, until things come to a head, and he captures Joker and forces Batman into a confrontation where he does a dramatic speech and then tells Bruce, "Kill Joker, or I kill all of us." Bruce takes the high ground and says no, and he disarms Jason. Jason will then flee off into the night. He'll later return to try to steal the mantle of Batman from Dick Grayson. He'll fail, and then he'll return again to challenge Dick Grayson's Batman with his own being a criminal, the Red Hood. Kind of funny. Sibling rivalry going on here. And then Jason will start his own group of anti-heroes, the Outlaws. And that is where Jason stays to this day. He works with the Outlaws to punish crime his own way. He is an anti-hero. Let's talk about his team, the Outlaws. So the first iteration of the Outlaws was Jason, Arsenal, aka Roy Harper, who used to be Speedy, and Starfire. So yeah, Jason just stole 2 of Dick's friends from the Teen Titans and said, "Ha! Those are mine now. I'm getting the redheads this time." It is notable that when they are the Outlaws, Jason also has red hair during this time, which is, I thought, was a weird thing to suddenly add to him. But no. When Jason was very first introduced as Robin, back before they gave him his actual backstory and they just recycled Dick Grayson's backstory, yeah, Jason used to be in a circus, that version of Jason had red hair. So yeah, they brought it back for no reason. For a very thematic reason of, at this time, all 3 of the Outlaws had to have red hair, because it's Red Hood and the Outlaws. That's my personal theory of why they brought back the red hair. But, this one lasts for a while. He's good friends with both of them. I think they go into space at one point. But then the second and current iteration of the Outlaws is Jason, Bizarro, the reverse Superman, and Artemis, who is an Amazonian warrior, who I'm pretty sure doesn't like or believe in the Greek gods, which is like really funny for an Amazonian to decide. And in terms of romantic relationships, almost none. He has recently started a maybe romantic relationship with Artemis, his teammate in the Outlaws. That's questionable, though. He spent too much time being dead to form relationships. Personality-wise, Jason is often characterized as the angry one, which is fair. My boy is angry. He has the anger issues. But he is also an absolute nerd. Nerd. He's also a theater nerd, in my opinion. Like, that's his specific type of nerd that he gives off, you know? Jason likes to read. Already we're getting off on a great start. Anyone who reads is a nerd. He says bamboozled unironically. And that's like, Jason, that's nerdy. Saying bamboozled. I say bamboozled. Nerd. We love him being a nerd. And then he does his dramatic speech at Bruce in the events of Under the Red Hood, and it's like, that is theater kid energy. He was practicing all night for that. He also does everything in the most dramatic way possible. Like, he's going out of his way to make things look cooler and be more of like a flash and a flare, despite him not having to. He has guns. He doesn't have to be this flary with them. Though growing up on the tough streets of Gotham, inside, Jason is a soft theater kid nerd. I could see him fitting in with a Shakespeare troupe. I think he has Shakespeare lines memorized. Nerd. The family role for Jason is, I mean, like, he's welcome. And we love having him with the family. But his death did change everything about how the family functioned going forward. And his presence is kind of awkward. You know, just a little bit, since, you know, he is a walking embodiment of Bruce's biggest failure. And, he's also a reminder of what the worst possible outcome can be. But he is still welcome, and, like, we look past that. We try not to think about it, kind of a deal. That said, he has tried to kill Bruce, Dick, and Tim. And I think Damien, too. On a few occasions. So, like, a little bit of shaky ground there. But Jason is also a reminder that no matter how badly you mess up in the Bat family, you're most likely going to get welcomed back. Because, Jason is welcome to come over anytime. And, he is still actively using guns and killing criminals. Two things that Bruce hates. But Jason's family, so he can still come over, so it's fine. In terms of, like, how he interacts with the siblings, Jason is the older brother that will tease them and try to kill them relentlessly. But as soon as somebody else tries to do that, he pulls out the guns. Whether that's his muscles or his actual weapon guns, depends. But Jason is the only one that's allowed to pick on his family like that, kind of a vibe. In times of light crisis, Jason will offer whatever awkward comfort he can provide. He's not particularly good at it, but he'll try. That's Jason. We love him. He's hilarious. Oh, Tim. You're such an interesting case of simultaneously being an only child and yet perpetually being born to be a middle child. So Tim Drake is our third Robin here. And he is something. I would say that Tim is the second most recognizable Robin for, like, normies, as in people who aren't obsessive like I am. And that is mostly thanks to his Batman the Animated Series role as being the second Robin there. And he had one of the longer runs as Robin. Jason's only the second shortest. Okay. Let's actually go into Tim. Tim Drake is the only child to Janet and Jack Drake. Why do I remember their names? Because for some reason they both start with a J, and I find that intriguing. Not actually. I think my brain just likes when things are consistent. But wait, anyway. They were all rich. They are said to have, the Drakes as a family were said to have been in the same social class as Bruce, which is like billionaire status, which is really funny to me because Tim screams like middle class or upper middle class. Like, he does not scream billionaire to me, which Tim is such a contradiction to himself, and it's interesting. It's intriguing. Anyway, fun fact, Tim was there the night that the Flying Graysons all died. Trauma! Hopefully his parents covered his eyes before they fell fully, so, like, maybe less trauma, but still trauma. So he actually, fun fact, he has, like, there's a picture of the Drakes with the Graysons from that night from before they fell. Anyway, this is important because the Flying Graysons can do, like, a quadruple backflip, which is, like, very impressive or something. And it's a very signature move of theirs, to the point where Tim sees Robin, Dick Grayson's Robin, do that, and goes, I know that. I know that. I know who you are. You cannot fool me. I know who you are. So, Tim was 9 when he figured out that Dick Grayson was Robin and Bruce was Batman. Tim is a stalker. Like, certified stalker of Batman and Robin. Both Robins. Both Dick Grayson and Jason Todd's Robin. Tim was watching and taking pictures and actively stalked all of them, but was good enough to not get caught, which is impressive. Because he did this around the age of 9. For reference, he stalked Dick Grayson to his Teen Titans base. Honestly, that should have been a giveaway that he had money to be able to just travel at age 9 and not have your parents question anything. Tim, you're a menace. Moving on. Yeah, by age 9, Tim Drake has found out the secret identity of Batman and his 2 Robins. And he stalks them for funsies. This puts Tim in the perfect, terrible position to, after Jason dies, see Bruce spiral in real time as he stalks Bruce around. And Tim is, like, the only person to notice this. I'm sure Alfred had his suspicions, but, like, Tim is the only normal Gotham person to notice this, and he's not normal, so, like, Tim comes up with this brilliant plan, okay? Step 1, do the usual and stalk Nightwing. Step 2, confront Nightwing. And tell him, hey, I know your secret identity. Stop screaming. Shut up. Look, Batman needs a Robin right now. He's kind of spiraling and going all dark. So if you could just, like, go back to Gotham and be Robin for a little bit, things would be much better for everyone. Please and thank you. Dick's like, what? Who are you and what? Anyway, Dick refuses to go back to being Robin, 'cause trauma. And, you know, he wants to be his own hero. He doesn't want to go back to being Robin. So, events happen, and Nightwing and Batman end up getting captured by, I think, Two-Face? And so Tim sees this and goes, there's nobody else to help them. There's nobody else to help them. And so he puts on the Robin costume and goes out and he helps them. With Alfred's support, Alfred encouraged him. Alfred is a good, talent agent. He's got a good eye for talent. And he saw this kid and went, that one will fix all of my problems. I can finally stop being the only smart one. Little did Alfred know, this one's too insane to be smart. Tim saves them, and Bruce is like, no, I'm not having another Robin. You cannot do this. And Tim's like, watch me. Tim's specific words are like, Batman needs a Robin, and I'm gonna do it. You have no say in this. And Bruce has to accept this fate. But Bruce is being more cautious about things now, so he tells Tim, fine. But before you can do active patrol, around Gotham, you first have to go through a training regiment of my design. And I'm sure that in the back of Bruce's head, he's like, nobody is going to want to go through this. He'll quit eventually. But Tim, unfortunately for Bruce, is very, very persistent. So he gets through the Robin training. And for most of this, he's training in the background in the Batcave, but then he's also doing a lot of the tech work from the Batcave as well. Because did I mention he's a genius? Because he is. Tim is a genius, but sometimes he's so stupid that we have to question him all those smarts. And yet no thoughts head empty. Towards the end of Tim's training to be Robin officially, a little event happens called, Tim's parents get kidnapped by a cult, poisoned, and were going to be sacrificed in a cult ritual, but Batman and Robin, that being Bruce and Tim, stop that. However, it is too late for Tim's mother and she dies, and his father is now in a coma. Eventually he'll come out of the coma, though, so that's good, but he'll be temporarily paralyzed. Welcome to comic books. So that happens. And Tim's extra traumatized, and now because his father's in a coma, he's living at Wayne Manor. But now that that's over, Tim's career as Robin can fully start. And he is more of a detective than Dick's Robin or Jason's Robin. Those two were in it to get out some pent-up aggression. He's in it to be a detective and use his big brain. And also to get praise from Bruce. His childhood idol, I guess is the word. Tim is a fanboy, okay? He's a fanboy living the ultimate dream. For a while, as Tim is officially Robin, Bruce still plays it safe and tells Tim, you run into a villain, like a big list villain. You call for backup and you retreat. No, wrong order. You retreat and call for backup. Tim's like, yeah, sure. And then proceeds to not. Not all the time. Sometimes he follows Bruce's directions. It's a common theme that the children do not follow Bruce's instructions. Tim would continue to prove himself as being such a great Robin, and he would get to do patrol on his own, and do investigations on his own, and honestly, he's thriving. This would lead to Tim making hero friends of his own, and forming a small hero group called Young Justice. He has friends, guys. He also has a school life that he's balancing this whole time, which is very impressive. And he has school friends and a school girlfriend who will be broken up with soon because secret identities mess with any romances. Then his father is unacclimatized, and now, on top of all of that, Tim is now also hiding the fact that he is Robin from his father. So, my boy is juggling too many things. I'm kind of impressed that he doesn't have the circus background that Dick and early Jason had. Early being the one that got retconned. Along the way, Tim also gets to meet Steph, who I will go over because she is very important. And she has her own section. And they become friends, and then later boyfriend-girlfriend. And yeah, things go well. Until they don't. Until Tim's father learns that he is Robin and then tells Tim, no! What is wrong with you? No! Stop this! You cannot do this! I have now lost your mother. I am not going to lose you, so you are going to stop this. So Tim is like, okay, fine, and retires from being Robin. Steph then takes up role as Robin. And then the events of War Game happen, and Steph dies. And after that, Tim will return to being Robin. And then his father is killed. And then the events of Infinite Crisis happen. And suddenly, two of his best friends are dead, that being Superboy and Impulse. Actually, retract that. His best friend Superboy is dead, and his other good friend Impulse is completely missing. Because he's a speedster. And he went into the speedster zone of get erased from... I don't like the speedsters strictly for the fact that they do this. They just run too fast and then they don't exist anymore, but then sometimes they do, and they make all of the timeline more complicated. And then Bruce goes missing and is presumed dead. Dick Grayson will then take on the mantle of Batman, and Tim goes, wait, he's not dead. To which Dick is like, I know you are grieving so much, but can you please not? And then Tim instantly goes into a conspiracy theory ramble. And, like, he's not wrong. Everyone in canon at the time thinks he's wrong, but he's not. He is correct. Bruce is not dead. But at the moment, Tim looks absolutely crazy. And then he loses the position of Robin. Dick Grayson gives the Robin position to Damian Wayne, a fact that surely bothers Tim. And Damian, probably. Because Damian didn't get to win it by killing him. Damian is a psycho. I can't wait to get to Damian. Anyway, Tim then goes, fine, I may not be Robin. Now I'm Red Robin. Yum. I tried. I tried not to, but it was... I don't know how they got away with this. I do not know how they got away with calling him Red Robin for decades. They only recently thought about changing it, and then it didn't work. People mocked them for the idea of changing his hero name to Drake, because, one, that's just his last name. Two, nobody is going to think of the hero Drake first when you say it. They're gonna think of two things before they get to the hero. The rapper, or another word for dragon. Oh, and third, I didn't even know that Drake was a kind of bird until this whole thing happened. Like, what? Why are you doing this? Nobody is gonna think of the bird first, either. Where was I? Right, Tim then goes off on his own as Red Robin, and has many an adventure as he tries to prove that Bruce is not in fact dead. He also has a whole thing where he's fighting the League of Assassins, and has, like, a rivalry with Ra's al Ghul, which, like, is kind of funny because this immortal is picking on a grieving 15-year-old, and the 15-year-old is winning, so, like... Actually, no. Tim is not 15. At this point, he would have been 18 to 19-ish? Yeah. Anyway, Ra's, an immortal being who just came back from the dead, is picking a fight with a grieving 19 to 20-year-old. And he's losing. Eventually, Tim will be proven correct. Bruce is not dead. And Tim's like, yes, I win! I win! Get wrecked, you losers! I win! My own interpretation. From there, the universe will soft reset, and Tim will go back to his hero team, Young Justice, as Red Robin with his friends back, so Superboy is undead, and Impulse has returned from the Speedster Zone. And then the timeline fully resets, and Tim is in that same position. And he has recently come out as bisexual, which is great for him. And yeah, he is finally somewhat happy, at least. Tim's hero team is Young Justice. The founding members of Young Justice were obviously Timberly here. Oh, I forgot. I call him Timberly sometimes for funsie. my friend started it, and now I can't stop it. It happens. Superboy, aka Connor Kent, who is a clone of Superman. We move past that. The second Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandsmark. Impulse, a speedster from the future who is the grandchild of Barry Allen's Flash, who has come backwards in time from the future. Do you see why the speedsters just Arrowette and Secret. Those are the founding members, and the recent rebirth iteration of the team also includes Team Lantern, Ginny Hex, and Amethyst. In terms of relationships, there are really two. There's Stephanie Brown, and then there is Bernard, who is his recent boyfriend. And then, if you ask the fandom, Superboy counts. For years before Tim came out as bi, people were like, no. Did you see the depression arc he went on after Connor died? He was in love with him. Which, I can't disagree. But also, he had his girlfriend die as well, and his father die, very close to that. In terms of my brain, anyway. As far as I'm concerned, sometimes these events take place within, weeks of each other, and I know that's incorrect, but because of timeline shenanigans, I'm also not incorrect. Personality-wise, Tim is more of the detective than any of the other Robins. Seeing as he idolized Batman and Robin as a child, he followed more of Bruce's investigation style, and that makes him very smart. He was already very smart to begin with, and then he got smarter so that way he could be Robin. I don't know if you can tell, this boy is very determined. He sets his mind on something, and he will not stop until he's dead or he's achieved his goal. As seen in him forcing Bruce to concede that he will be the next Robin. Which is always funny to me. Also, Tim goes through some notable depression arcs. And can you blame him? It feels like death is around every corner for him sometimes. Let's be honest. He lost a lot of people. Tim is canonically a skater boy. And he's also very relatable to the teen audience. And that was on purpose. As they were writing Tim to be the new Robin, it was the 90s, and they wanted Tim to reflect the teens of that era. And he has continued to, kind of reflect that to this day. Him and Stephanie, they, very much so reflect the teen to young adult of the modern era kind of feel. For Tim, being a hero has always been an uphill struggle. He's a nerd. He has the physique of a nerd. Before he did all of his training, he had the nerd physique. Twig, no muscle. And so, being a hero was a challenge for him. And he knows that he is not the best in a lot of things. Actually, he thinks he's not the best in everything because he's always comparing himself to Bruce, which is a standard that nobody should compare themselves to because Bruce is near mythical in his insanity, I guess is the right word. Bruce's dedication teeters on insanity at points. And so Tim always thinks that he's not the best, and he knows that. But he will not stop trying to get there, get to be the best. No one ever was. Tim had to work twice as hard as Dick or Jason to become Robin. He had to work twice as hard as either of them did, only to get just as far as they did. Which, that would be discouraging for me personally. I would throw in the towel. But he didn't. He kept going because He set his mind on this, and he was not gonna back down. Canonically, Tim is a genius. Like, I'd say that the only member of the Bat family who is inherently smarter than him is Barbara. Like, yes, Bruce is smarter than everyone, technically, but, like, Barbara and Tim are the two smartest children, and Tim is giving Barbara a run for her money, but she's still winning, which further adds to his, I'm not the best complex. Oh, my poor boy. Poor Tim. Yeah, he has an inferiority complex, I guess, is the way to say it. He's never gonna think he's at the top. He's never gonna think he's good enough, which is a problem. Give yourself some credit, my boy. But that makes this next part really, really funny. Tim, at age, 17 or something, is the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. Oh my gosh, every time I think about it, it just makes me laugh harder. Bruce put Tim in charge of his business. Okay. So Bruce decided to put Tim in charge of Wayne Enterprises. Which, yeah, that's a good idea, but objectively is hilarious. This is the funniest prank Bruce has pulled on the entire, upper management, I don't know what the right word is, for Wayne Enterprises, is making his 17-year-old adopted son CEO. Oh, Bruce. What goes through your head? How did you think that the normal human people would react to this? Okay. Tim's role in the family is he is now the middle child, which I alluded to earlier. Somehow Tim is the only child in the Drake family, and yet he has always given off, I am the middle child energy. It's very impressive. That said, he is also the one who saved the entire family, because if not for Tim, Bruce would have kept on spiraling, and things would have ended at Jason. There would be the rest of the family. No one else who I'm going to talk about would be in the same position as they are today. Not without Tim. I have a theory that secretly, Tim is every other member of the Bat family's either first or second favorite sibling. Damian has begrudging respect for him. Jason can admit that Tim might be a better Robin than him, even though Jason has tried to kill Tim quite a few times. Moving on. Dick is a very good brother to Tim, and so yeah, favorite. I'd say Tim is consistent. That's Tim Drake. Why is he the CEO? Cassandra Cain. Cass is the daughter of two assassins, that being David Cain and Sandra Wusan? I don't know. Also known as Lady Shiva, both of which are assassins, working for the League of Assassins. Cass's birth was part of a plan by her father, David, to create the best assassin to ever exist. And, he was succeeding. After Cass was born, Lady Shiva wasn't in the picture anymore. And David's training of Cass was very intense. Cass was never taught verbal communication or the ability to read. Instead, that part of her brain that would process those two things was dedicated purely to reading the human body, and this gave her the unique ability to read somebody's body language to the point where she can predict their next move. And that made her incredibly strong. Like, overpowered level strong. But she never could read or speak or anything. And this actually turned out to be a detriment for David's entire plan. Because on her first kill, at the ripe age of 8 years old, David did a trial run with Cass. Just a test. It was a hit on a businessman, and Cass did kill him. But in doing so, she experienced death for the first time. And the way it's described is that because of her ability to read the human body, she experienced what he felt in real time, which was fear and then nothing. And then she understood what she had done. And she knew she could not do that ever again. So she ran away. And she was on the run, living on her own for 9 years. Until she got to Gotham. And during a crisis, she saved Commissioner Gordon. In the events of No Man's Land, she saved Commissioner Gordon. This gained her the trust of both Batman and Barbara. Here, she would live with Barbara in the clock tower, which is Barbara's apartment, essentially. And Babs would allow her to become the next Batgirl. It is Cass's devotion to saving and protecting lives that eventually wins over the trust of Bruce. Because at first, he's not quite sure. But after she, takes bullets to save an assassin, he's like, oh, okay. She's going to save lives no matter what, no matter the cost of her body. Side note, she doesn't flinch if she gets shot because one of the training things that her father did was twice for flinching. With guns! This man deserves to die. He deserves to be burnt at the stake. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So one night, Cass is patrolling, and she saves a random civilian. This random civilian has psychic powers, and he accidentally goes into her mind and rewires her entire brain so that way she can understand English, and she can speak English, and she can maybe have the potential to read. And this throws Cass off so bad. This throws off her entire game because now she's dealing with things that she's never experienced before, all while losing her ability to read the human body and predict people's next movements. So she isn't too good at her job right now, and she's an active liability. So Bruce tells her, fix yourself, or you cannot be Batgirl. I'm not having somebody else die. The thoughts of Jason dying loom large across everyone's heads. Cass starts trying to learn more defensive moves because that's her problem. She's never had to defend herself before. She's always been able to predict and avoid. And while she's doing this, she learns that an assassin, Lady Shiva, who at the time she does not know is her mother, has the same ability that Cass had, the ability to read people and predict their movements. So Cass seeks out Lady Shiva, and she asks that she teach her this ability, or reteach her this ability. Shiva agrees, and she also doesn't know that Cass is her child. So Shiva agrees on one condition. In 1 year from now, they fight to the death. Because, fun fact, Shiva has a death wish this whole time. Like, she killed her sister and now she wants to die kind of a thing. Now, Cass refuses to kill anyone. So if she accepts this deal, she knows that in a year she's going to die at this duel. And Cass decides that it's better to have 1 year of perfection than a lifetime of being average, which is incredibly crazy thought process, but it's how she thinks, and she agrees. So in one night, Lady Shiva reteaches her the ability to read the human body and be able to predict their movements. And then Cass has 1 year as Batgirl. And during that time, she learns from Barbara and from Steph about how to read, and her English gets better, and she has a friend in Steph now, and she's doing a lot of good work in Gotham. But that 1 year runs out, and she goes back to have her duel with Lady Shiva. And it is over like that. Shiva kills Cass, and then instantly restarts her heart, and is like, yeah, no, I know you weren't trying your best. I know you came here ready to die, but look, that's not what I want. I want a good fight. I want an actual fight that makes me feel alive. So Cass is like, okay, I'll try this time. And they fight again. And during this fight, Cass realizes that Shiva also wants to die. And Cass ends up winning their rematch. But she doesn't kill Shiva. She spares her life and is like, I'm not taking any lives. And if I have to live, you have to live. And she leaves and continues on her work as Batgirl. During the events of War Games, which is where all of the gangs of Gotham City go to war with each other, Cass is instrumental in stopping a lot of the violence. She can move fast, she can dodge everything, and she can predict people's movements and easily take them down. She is an assassin, and this is what she's meant to do. Move quickly and take people down fast. She doesn't kill any of them, but she is very efficient. However, at the ending of War Games, after Stephanie Brown dies, Cass is greatly affected by this because Steph was her friend. She was helping teach Stephanie how to fight, and Stephanie was helping her learn how to read. And they had built up a really good friendship, and now Steph is dead. And after this, Cass and Tim move to Bloodhaven for a little bit to cover for Nightwing and to get away from Gotham because both of them just lost their best friend. Like, Tim just lost his girlfriend, and Cass just lost her best friend. Like, both of them are grieving. And so they need time away from Gotham. So they go to Bloodhaven. Nightwing got really injured during the events of War Games, so they take over in Bloodhaven for him for a little bit. And after this, Cass would tend to go undercover a lot more for Bruce. She would also start to put the pieces together of who her mother is, that being Lady Shiva. And she would decide to go and find Shiva and confront her with this information. This enters the weird period of Cass's story where, so Shiva's, like, teaching new trainees at the League of Assassins, right? So Cass gets there, and, she is declared as the one. Don't know what that means. And half of the students of the League of Assassins will start to train under Cass, so she randomly becomes a teacher for the League of Assassins, and the others stay with Shiva, and this ends up with the two factions warring with each other, and in the end, Cass and Shiva have a duel again, and this time, Cass once again wins, and she breaks Shiva's neck, and is going to put her in the Lazarus pit to heal her, and Shiva's like, no, don't do that, I want to die, remember? So Cass is like, okay, fine, whatever, and leaves Shiva to die. Shiva does not die, and appears years later. Real life years later, by the way. After this, Cass would then abandon the role of Batgirl. And then she would get mind controlled by Deathstroke, and she would become the head of the League of Assassins. Although, even when she was head of the League of Assassins, she would still help Tim a little bit by killing a villain once. It was incredibly complicated. Like, I'm sorry, what? Eventually, Tim manages to unmind control Cass, and then she vanishes for a while. She eventually returns as Batgirl and joins Bruce's team, the Outsiders, until Bruce disappears, and then she leads the Outsiders to find Bruce, and then he dies, and then she gets really sad and abandons the role of Batgirl entirely, gives up the mantle to Steph, and she will strike out on her own as the Black Bat working in Hong Kong. Later, when Bruce comes back to life, she will join Batman Inc. or Batman Incorporated and work in Hong Kong as Black Bat, officially. And then the timeline resets and she doesn't exist for a while until she eventually comes back and is now going by the title Orphan. And she works with the Outsiders once again, and later on, she and Stephanie and Barbara will get their own series called The Batgirls, and she will be Batgirl once again alongside Stephanie. Yeah, welcome to complicatedness. I think Cass's story really emphasizes the weirdness of comics sometimes. But yeah, in terms of teams, Cass is a part of the Outsiders, the side group of the Justice League that first formed when Bruce and a few other heroes got disillusioned with the Justice League and struck out on their own, forming the Outsiders. The team of Outsiders that Cass works with, there are two. The main team that Cass works with the Outsiders in current times consists of Black Lightning, Signal, Katana, Lady Shiva, Babylon, Batwing, and Batwoman. In terms of relationships, Cass essentially has none. She had a one-off romance with Superboy, Connor Kent, Kal-El. Fans ship her with Steph. I always just think of them more as besties, but I'm weird about stuff, so I always prefer that they're best friends rather than romance, I'm gonna be honest. But functionally, none. Zero whatsoever, and I find that fun. Personality. Cass is pretty simple overall. She's got a very strong moral compass when she's not being mind controlled, and is very dedicated to the cause of saving people and not taking a life. She experienced death in a way that no one else really can. I mean, like, Jason and Steph and later Damian all died. So, like, they've experienced death, but it's not the same way that Cass experienced. It's weird. I think that Cass's idea where she's like, 1 year of perfection is better than a life of mediocrity really tells a lot about who she is as a character, or at least in the beginning who she was. She wants to be perfect, and she holds herself to a very high bar. Cass is usually generally kind of quiet, just because verbal communication is not her first form of communication. She's used to reading bodies and predicting, like I say. So speaking words is not always her forte. She can always read what you're feeling, though, which is kind of terrifying. She is constantly analyzing other people just because that's how she takes in information. She analyzes what their body language is, and it's constant. She cannot turn this off anymore. Notable that she spent many years, 9 years, fending for herself, which is impressive. Like, she had no life skills whatsoever, and she managed to stay alive this whole time without any help. In terms of friends, they are few and far between, mostly just being Steph and Duke. And at one point she made some friends in Bloodhaven, but then they got killed, so yeah. A lot in life is new to her, and she likes experiencing the new things. She has shown more interest in alternative fashion and, like, pop culture stuff. Cass really likes dance, specifically ballet. It's a form of storytelling that she instinctually understands, and it's nice for her, like, to not have to struggle to understand a story, and, like, that is what dance is, and she loves it for that. Role in the family, currently she is in good standing with everyone. She is the only girl that actually is in, like, the Wayne part of the family. Like, neither Steph nor Babs are technically in the Wayne family. She's the only one that got adopted in terms of girls. So she can instantly do no wrong and is the perfect child because she is the only girl. she's winning. She is winning. For a while there, though, Dick Grayson did not trust her because she was an assassin, and he just could not get over that, despite how dedicated she was, which was, like, kind of infuriating for me at the time. They actually did fight each other, like, physically fight each other. Cass won. Though they have since mellowed out and become on better terms. The family members that are closest to Cass are easily Steph, Tim, and Duke. She and Tim went through a lot together. And they definitely have inside jokes with each other. Like, not only did they do the whole Bloodhaven thing together, also while Cass was in the League of Assassins, maybe being a spy there, maybe not, Tim was her contact, and when she was Black Bat, Tim was her contact. Tim is the one who unmind controlled her. They are close. They are good friends. Steph and Cass are obviously besties, and I love them so much. Cass and Duke are on the Outsiders together, and therefore they spend a lot of time together. So yeah, they get along well. Damien respects her because of her physical abilities. I don't think Jason has a strong opinion on Cass. Yeah, that's it. Next one! Stephanie Brown is my favorite member of the Bat family. You can't really tell too much, but the outfit that I am wearing right now is based on her Batgirl outfit. I say that because I never got the paneling up to the top part, but it's on the legs, I swear. Stephanie Brown is the daughter of a C-list villain known as Clue Master. He wants to be Riddler so bad, but no. He commits crimes and has this compulsive need to leave behind clues to who did the crime, which is what gets him caught. Stephanie does not like that her father is a villain, because, you know, he spent a lot of time in prison and away from the family, and now her mom is depressed. So, when her father comes back out of prison, and now he's cured of his compulsive need to leave clues behind, Stephanie decides, no, you're not getting away with that, and starts leaving clues behind for what she knows her father's next crimes are going to be, and this gets her into the world of meeting Batman and Robin. Tim is Robin at the time. And in order to leave these clues behind, she takes on the persona of Spoiler. Get it? Because she's spoiling her father's plans? It's great. During this personal crusade of hers against her father, she meets up and teams up with Batman and Robin, eventually bringing Clue Master to justice. And then she will sporadically reappear and hang out with Tim as Robin. And as she's hanging out with Tim, it is very clear that Stephanie likes Tim, but at the time, he was in a committed relationship. But that went downhill because secret identity things. And so once he was free, Stephanie swooped in and stole his heart because she's just the best. And even though he couldn't tell her his identity at the time, she was fine with that. Because, like, she liked him no matter what. It's time where she is Spoiler and flirting with Robin. She will also go on to train with the Birds of Prey, who are not very happy to be training someone. And also she'll train with Batman, who's fine with it. In her training with the Birds of Prey, she will encounter Cassandra Cain, and the two will spark an adorable friendship. Absolutely adorable. And Cass teaches Stephanie how to fight, and in return, Steph teaches Cass how to read, and it's just, I love their friendship, and it means everything to me. Oh, yeah, also, at a certain point, Stephanie has a arc where she is teen pregnant. I skip over that, because pregnancy kind of weirds me out. It's like an alien living in your body. Ew. After that thing, Tim will eventually have to retire as Robin because his father found out. And during that time, in a very twisted attempt to get Tim to return as Robin via making him jealous, Bruce hires Stephanie as the next Robin in a weird attempt to get Tim jealous of his girlfriend, because they are dating at the time. I wish I knew what was going through Bruce's head and why he thought this would work or how it was a good idea, but I have no clue. I honestly can't even begin to imagine why he thought this was a good idea. Steph lasts as Robin for 71 in-universe days. So, she has the shortest run as Robin of anyone. In real life, she is Robin for exactly 3 comic book issues, which hurts my soul. She should be Robin longer. Steph is great, but Bruce's plan to get Tim jealous clearly isn't working, and he's getting annoyed with Stephanie, so he fires her. And Stephanie decides that she's going to prove herself to Bruce. She steals one of his long-term plans to clean up crime in Gotham, and the one that she steals is one that will get rid of gang violence in Gotham. It's a very convoluted plan, as most of Bruce's long-term plans are, but she starts it. And, here's the thing about this specific plan. It relies on a mob boss known as Matches Malone. He is the key to this plan succeeding. And, Matches Malone is Bruce's mob boss persona. So if Bruce doesn't know that his plan is being enacted, then Matches Malone doesn't show up, and the whole plan blows up epically. And that's what happens. Now, Steph had no way to know about this. She was just as confused as the mob bosses were when Matches Malone didn't show up, and she was not prepared for the fallout that this would have, because welcome to War Games, where all of the gangs in Gotham go to war. And it will take multiple heroes, multiple of the vigilantes of Gotham, to come in and successfully stop this gang war. And they do. It's very impactful. But, they do stop the gang war at a significant cost. That cost being Steph, at one point, was captured by a gang boss known as Black Mask. He's also a villain. She was tortured to death. Well, to near death. She escaped and managed to make it to the office of Dr. Leslie Thompson, who is a trusted ally of the Bat family. And there she would get medical treatment. And she would live long enough to have one last conversation with Bruce, where he finally admits that, yeah, she was a Robin. It wasn't just a ploy, which he's lying about, because he just lost another Robin, and he didn't realize she was a Robin until it was too late. And so Steph dies. But she doesn't, because comic books. Out of comics, in our real-life universe, Stephanie Brown was dead for 4 years. Not lasting long as Jason's death, but still a long time. And she was actually dead, like, in terms of what readers knew. But in canon, Steph was dead for, like, a few minutes, and then Dr. Leslie Thompson brought her back to life, replaced her body with a drug addict who had recently died in her clinic, and she swapped the bodies, and Dr. Thompson was going to Africa anyway, so she brought Steph along with her for Steph to have the time to recover. And yeah, Steph had some time in Africa where she helped Dr. Thompson with her medical work, and then she came back. She came back after a lot of things happened in Gotham, right? And she came back just after Bruce had died, essentially. And Cassandra Cain was waning in her belief in being Batgirl. So when Steph came back, Cass passed on the cowl to Steph. And this starts her run as Batgirl. At the time, Dick Grayson is Batman and Damian Wayne is Robin. Him is off doing his thing where he is trying to prove that Bruce isn't dead, and, like, he's right, but still he looks insane to everyone from an outsider's perspective. At first, when Steph comes into the Batgirl persona, Barbara Gordon is like, nope, I remember. You were incredibly impulsive and reckless. No way you are taking over my mantle. To which Stephanie then proves herself worthy after taking on Scarecrow. And Barbara's like, okay, yeah, you have my permission. I'm going to be Oracle for you. And I'm going to be monitoring you, helping you the whole time. And gives Steph her new suit, her new Batgirl suit. And then the timeline resets, and I get very angry because I love Steph. And, after the timeline resets, Steph isn't existent anymore for a while, which made me very, very angry and is one of the reasons I stopped reading comics. Let's go over the teams Stephanie has been in. None. Just the Bat family. Stephanie is the only one who hasn't been on a team before. And I find that really funny for no reason. In terms of relationships, she's had one. Tim Drake. Which isn't canon anymore because they broke up. If you're asking fanon, people also ship her with Cassandra Cain. I like them better as friends, honestly, but I'm like that with a lot of things, so. Personality-wise, Steph is fun. Like Tim, she is a very relatable character, like, especially to any teens at the time, and through comic books continuing to go on, she has remained as a very relatable teenager. Like, that's her role. But Steph is also very smart and sassy and just a little bit silly. She brings back a little bit of that silliness that the Robin role needs. And yeah, she is a Robin. You can pry that knowledge from my cold, dead hands. She counts as Robin. She is Robin number 4. In terms of, like, motivations, spite fuels her. If you doubt her, she will prove you wrong, and then she'll laugh in your face about it. She lives to prove people wrong. And probably make Riddler feel bad about himself. Like, she really likes solving riddles, I think. In terms of her role in the family, it depends on the person. She's besties with Cass to the point where I like to think of them as, like, sister figures. With Tim, they're exes, but also they're still close friends, and at this point, now that they are exes, they've taken on, like, a brother-sister dynamic kind of thing, but also besties. She is a purposeful and welcome annoyance to Bruce. She's very purposeful about annoying him, and it's fun. She is a little sister figure to Barbara, Dick, and Jason. Though I would say that she's closest of them with both Babs and Jason, where she and Jason have, like, this common role of not quite belonging in the family, but also they do belong in the family, and it's a little bit weird for them, but at least the other understands them, you know? They get each other. And she is the older sister figure to Damien. Steph has consistently seen Damien as the child that he is and always puts him in his place as a child, and I find that hilarious. Somebody needs to put him in his place, and that is Steph. But also, she doesn't push it. Stephanie, like, plays on Damien's field, but is moving towards her own goal. Her goal is to make Damien experience a little bit of being a kid again, which she recognizes he's had none of. And secretly, Damien likes that. He is appreciative of what she does. I would say that Stephanie is fighting to have that classic Robin lightheartedness that this family desperately needs sometimes. Gotham sucks, and she knows that it sucks, but she is going to be a light if she can. In her own words, there's room for a little hope in this line of work. And that is what she brings to Gotham and to the family. And that's Steph. I love her so much. Damian Wayne is a menace to society. Look at him. He's so angry, and yet so small. So Damian is the son of Bruce and Talia al Ghul. Damian being conceived was very intentional on Talia's part. Bruce didn't know he existed for a really long time. So, Talia wanted to make the perfect heir to the Al Ghul line. The perfect heir to take over the League of Assassins, right? So, she got Bruce's DNA and used some science. And she created a genetically perfect child and grew it in an artificial womb. And that child became Damian, the menace that we see today. Talia would then train Damian in the League of Assassins until he was like 8? 10? Question mark? I don't remember. It's somewhere between ages 8 and 10, in which she deems that he has been trained enough by the League of Assassins, and now he needs to get the other part of his training, that being he needs to be trained by his father, Bruce. So she shows up at Wayne Manor and goes, "This is your child? This is my child. You will now train him." And Bruce goes, "I'm sorry, what?" "Alfred, I can explain." Bruce was very caught off guard by this. So, Damian, upon being left at Wayne Manor, instantly clashes with 1, Bruce's morals, specifically no killing, and 2, Tim. The kid showed up and expected to instantly be made Robin, despite Tim currently being Robin. And we have to admire the audacity. You have done nothing to prove yourself, Damian. What is wrong with you? So much is wrong with him. So Damian proves that he is definitely not ready to be Robin by doing 2 very terrible things in a row, in one action. So first, he steals a part of Jason Todd's Memorial Robin suit, and then he goes out and decapitates a criminal, like you do. Menace. So this is like 2 levels of disrespect, because 1, you disrespected the crucial rule of no killing. I would say that the only worst way he could have done it is if he used a gun, in which case, no, you're disowned, Damian. No guns, no killing. Those are the 2 rules that are tied with each other. Jason's an exception. Jason does both of those things, but he's the favorite. Anyway, also, he stole Jason's Memorial Robin tunic, which is like, Damian, have you ever heard of a thing called respect for the dead? No, he hasn't, because he's a menace. So yeah, kid has no respect. So Bruce sends him back to Talia and says, "No, I don't care if he's mine. What did you teach him?" So then a more culty part of the League of Assassins hunts down Damian and Talia because, long story short, for comic book reasons, Ra's al Ghul has been dead and cannot be revived using the Lazarus pit. And so this culty section wants to put Ra's al Ghul's soul into Damian's body, which will effectively kill Damian's soul, but bring back Ra's. So, no problem for them. Talia does not want this to happen. Damian does not want this to happen. And then this plan is stopped through complicated means, and Ra's al Ghul is still resurrected, but in his own body. Damian then does more training, and then the events of Battle for the Cowl happen, wherein Dick Grayson will eventually become Batman, and he will make Damian his Robin. And Bruce is presumed dead right now. That's important. Bruce is presumed dead. There is definitely a bit of a learning curve after Damian becomes Robin. Dick is still getting used to being Batman. And now he has to parent a child who just wants to kill everyone. This is a learning curve for everyone, the criminals included, because oh no, suddenly Robin is trying to kill us. This has never happened to us before. What do? We don't even have the skills to kill this child. Also, the entire time, Damian is like 10 years old at this point. So Damian, a 10-year-old child, thinks that he is more equipped and more deserving of the role of Batman than Dick Grayson is, who has been Robin, and then his own hero Nightwing, and is now filling in as Batman. Like, Damian, your resume is blank, and Dick's is immaculate. And Dick's resume is perfect and exactly what we're looking for, okay? Damian, you cannot be Batman, you are 10. This causes Damian these, fights about who gets to be Batman. It causes Damian to go off on his own a few times and then accidentally ruin Dick's plans, ultimately leading to Damian getting put in peril, to which Dick Grayson as Batman will come in and save him and be like, you have got to stop doing this. I don't want to have gray hairs yet. It's over time, as Dick continues to save Damian and teach him a little bit about, why they have a moral code and why we have to follow that moral code, that Damian begins to chill out. This is also thanks to Stephanie Brown's Batgirl a little bit, forcing Damian into a sibling dynamic with someone wherein she is teasing him for being the child that he is. And she also sees, oh, he doesn't realize he's a child. He's never had to be a child. That's bad. That's concerning. Anyway, Dick manages to chill Damian out. And then Bruce returns. And Dick has to go on his fake spy quest. And so Damian is sad. And he has next to no experience interacting with his father. And so now it's a new learning curve where both of them are struggling to relate to the other one. And Damian is getting that rage and urge to kill coming back up. But he's like, no, Grayson taught me better than this. Bruce realizes that he should find a way to connect to Damian. So he buys Damian a dog. This dog's name is Titus. Hold on. This is Titus, Damian's Great Dane. Suddenly, Damian has to take care of a creature and feels the concept of love for the second time in his life. Anyway, Titus is very important to Damian, very important. If he's gonna break the rule of no killing again, it will be for Titus, let's be honest. And then Damian is put in almost life-threatening danger as Robin, and Bruce almost kills a man over this. This is one of the only times Bruce has even gotten close to snapping. And he's like, okay, my son saw that. That's not good. So Bruce then has a heart-to-heart with Damian where he's like, I felt this way a lot of times. I felt like I should just start killing the villains, but that is not a line that I can cross. And I want you to understand where I'm coming from. And they have a bonding moment. And Damian is like, okay, I may not agree with the no-killing thing, but I can understand where you're coming from, so I won't kill. And then things go on nicely as he is Robin, until he is killed. Now Bruce, Damian. So, remember how Damian is a scientifically, genetically perfect child created by Talia with science and DNA? So she cloned him many times, and now that perfect clone is here and goes by the name Heretic, and Heretic stabs Damian through, and Damian dies. Just as he was starting to bond with the family, too. For reasons. The villain Darkseid takes Damian's body to the, dimension planet thing called Apocalypse. So Bruce has to put on special armor that will allow him to be able to fight Darkseid. Meanwhile, Jason, Tim, and Dick all go into Apocalypse retrieve Damian's body, and return. And then Bruce returns. And then Damian is brought back to life because of this. Thanks, comic books. And the timeline resets. Damian gets friends post the reset and is actually currently a part of the Teen Titans. So yeah, Damian's Teen Titans changed a little bit. It started off with Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, Kid Flash, Wally 2. Not the Wally West that we know, Wally 2, who is like based on the CW's Flash. That's Wally 2. Welcome to comic books! Aqualad, Jackson Hyde, and Superboy, John Kent. John Kent, Superboy, John, is Damian's bestest friend in the whole wide world, and he is also the son of Superman and Lois Lane, and they've had sleepovers together, and they had their own comic called Super Sons, so yeah. Damian's current team, I don't actually have the members' names on that, because no wikis will give me the spoilers, and I am not up to date. Anyway. Relationships, no! So, Damian is like, anywhere, depending on where you are in the timeline, from 10 to 13 years old. No, we are not going to ship the child with anyone. In terms of personality, Damian is a spoiled brat. At first, he's a spoiled brat. Let's be honest, he's mellowed out. But at first, he was very entitled, to the point where he fought Tim because he thought he was entitled to the position of being Robin. And he has a superiority complex that doesn't ever truly go away. It just kind of moves to the background. But also he's insecure because everyone in this family is insecure because they have to live up to Bruce's Batman status, which is nay impossible. But yeah, Damian's getting better. He went to public school. He made a friend. He has his animals. I should tell you guys about the animals. So obviously, we have Titus, his dog. But then, we also have Bat Cow. I forgot to print out the turkey. My bad. Oh no, did I also forget to print out the cat? Dang it! I forgot to print out a whole page. Anyway, Bat Cow is a cow that Damian saved from like a slaughterhouse that was also involved in a villain thing. I don't remember. Anyway, after saving Bat Cow, Damian announced that he was gonna go vegetarian, something that everyone has forgotten forever, which, like, it's fine. But, like, it's really funny when you see that pop up again. I have Alfred the cat. It's his cat. For reference, this is not confusing because Damian calls everyone by their last name, except for Bruce, who is father. So, like, Dick Grayson, he calls him Grayson. Jason, he calls him Todd. Tim is Drake. Alfred is Pennyworth. So Alfred the cat is perfectly fine and not confusing at all. Then you have Jerry, his turkey. I don't actually know the origins of this one. I just know that he exists and that I will never let go of the fact that Damian, for some reason, owns a turkey. And then, the biggest boy, the bestest boy, second bestest, I forgot Titus is here, Goliath. So Goliath is a giant demon bat dragon thing that Damian found when he was a wee child before he met Bruce, kind of a deal. And so he raised Goliath, and now Goliath is Damian's protector some of the time, and super cute, and can fly him places. Goliath was there for the Super Sons, and it was great. I love Goliath. He's so cute. Also, Damian has found that drawing and art making is a good way to relax when you want to kill someone. Just a good way to decompress and remember your rule: we cannot kill anyone. In terms of his family role, Damian is the baby and therefore can do all of the wrong things. He is baby, Your Honor. That is his excuse. He can get away with bloody murder. Actually, no, that's Jason. Damian can commit bloody murder and then be lightly scolded for it. Damian is a menace to the entire family, let's be honest. He is a menace of a little brother. The only family member that he actively shows affection to is Dick Grayson, because that's his pseudo father figure right there. That's the only brother he likes that he'll admit. Damian wants to make Bruce proud, but then again, which of these children doesn't? Stephanie doesn't. Actually, no, Stephanie does, but she says she doesn't. Damian can respect Jason and can kind of relate to him, seeing as they have both died. He respects Cass's martial combat. He respects Barbara's intellect, and nobody's messing with Barbara, if we're being honest. Like, you don't mess with her because you're gonna get owned. You're gonna get destroyed. Let's be honest. In terms of Tim, sibling rivalry. It started from minute one. Damian showed up and said, "Your spot is mine!" And Tim went, "I don't know what's happening, but I will fight you." And that has been their dynamic ever since. And as for Stephanie is the annoying older sister that he didn't want, but, now that she's here, he doesn't want her to go anywhere. He desperately needed somebody to put him in his place, sarcastically, and that's what Steph does. But yeah, that's Damian's relationship with the family. Overall, he's just the younger sibling who is a menace to everyone, but, what are you gonna do? You can't fully get rid of him. I mean, you can, but that's frowned upon, and we've already brought him back from the dead once. We don't want to have to go through the trouble of doing it again. I'm not gonna lie, I don't actually know a lot about Duke Thomas, and so a lot of what I learned about him is from the Wikipedia. I don't think I ever finished this sentence because I had an existential crisis, but I kind of fell off of actually reading the comic books around end of New 52, beginning of Rebirth, and Rebirth is the time that the timeline resets, and I was very upset about that because it got rid of Cass and Steph for a while. So I stopped reading. And Duke Thomas came in after that kind of thing, so I don't know too much about him until I did more reading, so this is going to be probably one of the shorter ones. So Duke's story starts after comic book stuff. Joker learns Batman's secret identity, right? He learns that Batman is Bruce Wayne. So he decides to kidnap a family to recreate the death of Bruce's parents in front of him, and the family that he picks is the Thomas family, that being Duke's family, his mom, dad, and himself. That because they had, one interaction with Bruce ever. Comics are weird. Anyway. So Bruce manages to save Duke and, stop his parents being murdered. However, both of his parents succumb to, this Joker gas that mind controls you kind of a thing into being crazy and Joker-like. So now he's an orphan, essentially, because his parents are MIA. And so Duke is in the foster system, and he is still looking for his parents, a fact that gets him in a lot of trouble, so he's bounced around a lot. As one of these times when he's looking for his parents, he stumbles into a plot to explode the sewers of Gotham, I guess. It's complicated. And he tries to stop it, and there he runs into members of the We Are Robin group. The We Are Robin Club, as I like to call it, is a movement in the, teens and young adults of Gotham City to, during this time of, Jokerification and, chaos in Gotham, where, there's not enough heroes to balance things out, the youths are taking up the mantle of Robin, wearing the Robin R on their person, and they go around and do the hero work a little bit, as a group, as a gang. And so Duke helps out the We Are Robins and will eventually be recruited by them. And then he moves up the ranks until he is one of the leaders of the We Are Robin movement, which is impressive. So the Robins, as I call them, the We Are Robin movement is chill in Gotham for a while. Like, they're doing their thing until one day they are framed for shooting a police officer, which causes the use of the Robin R to be banned. Anyone who's wearing it can be arrested, which is absurd. So, this kicks off the events of Robin War. And a lot of things happen, but Duke eventually teams up with the actual Robins, the Bat Boys. And they stop the Robin War thing going on, and the We Are Robin movement disbands. But Duke has been noticed by the Bat family for his skills and smarts and leadership potential. So, Bruce, as Batman, is like, hey, want a job? And Duke's like, yeah, sure, I guess. That's everyone's answer. Yeah, sure, I guess. And so he accepts becoming a part of the family as being the next sidekick to Batman, but he refuses to go back to like being a Robin or being Robin. So he creates his own hero persona, being the Signal. And from there, he would train with Bruce for about a year, and then he would graduate to full hero status. And after he had that full hero status, Duke would take on the daunting task of being the day shift of Gotham. So I don't know if you've noticed, but every single member of the Bat family tends to operate in darkness and at night. So Duke is gonna do daylight hours, which is actually really good for him. Because, fun fact, Duke has superhuman powers. For reasons, superpowers are currently called meta-human abilities or meta-powers. So, like, if you see that thrown around, just know that they mean superpowers. So, Duke's ability is to control light, and then as his powers evolve, he can control shadows, too. And he can do a lot of cool things with them. He has this power because turns out his father is not his father. His father is actually a villain named Gnomon. We'll stick with Gnomon. His actual father is a villain named Gnomon, who is an immortal being with powers, and Duke's mom tried to hide this from him. But now he knows. And he knows that because suddenly he has to fight Gnomon. Which he does, and even after learning that's his father, he's like, I don't care. I'm on the side of justice. I have a new father now. His name is Bruce. Accurate depiction of everyone in the Bat family. And so he defeats Gnomon, and Duke will be a part of the hero team, the Outsiders. The version of the Outsiders that Duke is on a team is going to be Black Lightning as their leader, Orphan, aka Cassandra Cain, Katana, Lady Shiva, Babylon, Batwing, and Batwoman. In terms of relationships, Duke is in a romantic relationship with Isabella Ortiz. I don't know how to say names. And she was a former member of the We Are Robins movement. In terms of personality, from what I can tell, he is very strong-willed and a little bit ambitious in a way that, like, wasn't immediately clear to me. But, he rose, for reference, he rose from being a new member of the Robins to being one of their leaders. And he did it pretty fast, too. And then from being one of the leaders, he then attached himself to the actual Bat family boys, Robins, and became a member of their family. He is rising through the ranks fast and has strong leadership potential. Oh, also, as a child, there was, like, this thing where Riddler had, like, taken over the city or whatever, and was, like, challenging random people where he's like, if you can solve my riddles 3, I'll let Gotham go, random peasant on the streets. Riddler things. And Duke, as a child, was like, I'm gonna beat him. So he studied super hard. I don't think he beat him. I don't think he was ever called as one of the random Gothamites to be chosen to duel Riddler. But I don't know, I didn't read the comic. I'm sorry, I have failed us all. But yeah, that's part of the reason why he's so smart. He decided as a child, I'm gonna beat up Riddler with brain power. In terms of his role in the family, he's kind of like the straight man of the family. Like, he's kind of like the Jim Halpert. Like, crazy things are happening around him because of the family, and he'll like look at the camera and he'll Jim the camera. But he will get into the shenanigans himself. He can't help it. He's just as crazy as the rest of this family. Otherwise, he wouldn't fit in. He wouldn't be here if he wasn't as weird as the rest of them, let's be honest. So yeah, he joins in on the stuff. But if accused, he'll go, what? No. Me? Nah. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. Do I seem like the kind of person who would join in on this shenaniganery? And it works. Of a family of weirdos, he is a weirdo, but he's the most normal of them, and therefore is currently the easiest way to understand the family. Hence, Wayne Family Adventures did that. They made him the, like, opening narrator of it. Duke gets along best with, like, Cass because they're in The Outsiders together, so they've had a lot of time to bond, and he goes out of his way to be very nice to Damian, which is, like, a Herculean task, because Damian's the worst. And yeah, Bruce is canonically proud of him, so, like, there's that. That's Duke. I unfortunately don't have a lot on him. I'm very sorry about that. 'Tis the nature of life. Fun fact, I don't actually care about Kate. I care more about the children than the adults of the Bat family, because like I've always been around their age, so I can relate to them more. So, Kate Kane is Batwoman. Because I don't particularly care about Kate, I didn't actually relook up her history. She's the cousin of Bruce on his mother's side. I know that. She was in the military. Her father is like a military commander person. She lost her mother and her sister, like they died tragically or something. And then she returned to Gotham after her military career and like did not have a good time. And she decided on her own, I'm gonna clean up the streets of Gotham, and took up the persona of Batwoman. Fun fact, Kate uses guns, a fact that Bruce does not like. So yeah, she's one of the other people who breaks the no guns rule. Kate is also a lesbian, openly gay character, only dates women, which is very funny, because the only thing that I really find interesting about Kate is actually her history as a character, because, fun fact, back in ye olden days of 1940s, people started coming up with the idea that Batman and Robin were gay, which, like, how little brain cells do you have to have in your head to think that? Do you not understand that they're father and son? I'm sorry. How stupid are you? Like, it's fine if they are, but they're not, like, specifically people were saying they were, like, gay for each other, which is incorrect. That's his son, you fools. This is a father and a son relationship. Idiots. Anyway, to disprove this, the writers at DC Comics came up with two characters, one to be a love interest for Batman, one to be a love interest for Robin. That being Batwoman and Batgirl. Kate and Betty Kane. So, the concept of Batwoman was specifically to give Batman a love interest to prove that he was not in fact gay. And then, decades later, they were like, we should have a canonically gay character in our comics, right? Who should we have? And as they're going through, they're like, that one. we should make Batwoman a lesbian and make her Bruce's cousin. Meaning that Kate went from a proof that people were not gay into proof that she herself is gay. Which is just a funny transformation of a character. Like, I find that fascinating in history. Like, so fun. If you're wondering about Betty Kane, the original Batgirl, she would later be turned into the hero Firebird? Yeah. And later seen in Dick Grayson's Teen Titans. Originally, she was in the Teen Titans as the role Batgirl, but as Barbara Gordon took over that role, they swapped Betty into Firebird. And yeah, that's all I really care about talking about Kate.